Hi, my name is Mel and today I'm going to show you how I'll be painting an oil painting. Due to the quarantine I can't go out to photograph new references, so that's why I'm going down memory lane and be nostalgic of the freedom we all used to have. In 2014 I took a trip to the south of France with my best friend Sarah. The plan was to hitchhike and camp for 3 weeks. I flew out with only €150, so that wasn't my smartest move, but it was so much fun! This is a very flattering screenshot I'll be using because I like the composition and the facial expression. To start off, I like to trace the image on my iPad using the app Procreate. I don't always do this, but lately I do because it gives me the opportunity to create a more simple image to start from. I like to paint onto Figueras paper by Canson. It's a linen textured paper that feels like you're painting onto a canvas. Then I tape down my paper. To make sure it doesn't rip afterwards, I hold it against my very lovely pen so it doesn't take off the excess glue. These are all my brushes, my oil paints, oil-based pencils by Derwent, Winsor & Newton liquid light gel and shell sol. From the colors I use most, I have larger tubes, which I desperately need to clean. Then I print out my reference picture and also the sketch I made. Then I cut off the borders. Then I'll be sketching out the composition. It doesn't have to be perfect because you won't be seeing it in the final results. For the sketch I'm using the oil-based pencils. They're a new series by Derwent and I really love them. In the end you'll see me using them as well for final touches. I wanted to paint with a lot of blues for a while now. I find blues to be rough to work with because it's hard to find a nice opaque color. So you have to work with mixing colors but also let them dry for a week so you'll be able to layer and eventually glaze the colors on, so they'll be more vibrant. Liquid light gel helps with speeding up the drying process, it improves with the flow, it's ideal for glazing and it resists yellowing. Honestly, liquid really changed my life. Now I'm mixing my blues to get a nice undertone for the sea. As for how I choose the colors I'm mixing, I don't have a perfect recipe for it. I honestly just use my intuition. For example, here when I added the paints grey, it looked too dull, so then I added the green and ultramarine to add a little pop of color. I start off with painting the biggest portion. Sometimes I would start off with painting the whole surface with the undertone, but today I just didn't feel like it. Also, the person needs to have a completely different undertone, and for the part where the waves break, I really want to have a nice white undertone. I mix the residue on the paintbrush with titanium white for the wave at the front. Normally you would use a mixing white like zinc white for example, but I've tried it and for some reason it just doesn't create the effect I want, so sometimes you just gotta break the rules. For the sky I used a cerulean blue. It's an half opaque color, so that means again I'm doing something I'm not really supposed to do. However, I will be adding a second layer to mask that because I really like this blue for the sky. These are the colors I'll be using for the skin tone. The azo yellow I didn't need for this, but I used it later in the video. So, as you can see, this is the color I'm using for the undertone. Later on I will add extra layers to give the skin more depth. If I remember correctly, this is the first time I used cadmium red. I'm actually ashamed of that because this red is so beautiful and opaque. In the original image I was wearing a dark blue bathing suit, but there's this thing called artistic freedom and I thought the red would really bring out the blues. In the screenshot you can see that the water goes from dark to light. Since I used an undertone I could use ultramarine for the darkest part. Again, ultramarine is a transparent color, but the layer underneath helped cover that up.
No, 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 no.
Here I'm using a dry brush with a little bit of liquid to fade out the colors. For the hair I'm using raw umber to create the darker colors. Later I will add another color on top. So, this is the next day. I was really surprised by how fast the oil dried. I was working with very thin layers and the air in my apartment was pretty warm, so I guess that's why. I moved my painting to my easel for a change of scenery. To create the darker colors in the skin, I mixed the original colors from the day before with a little bit of Payne's Grey. And give another layer to the sky. I gave another layer to the sea as well. To make sure the paint doesn't bleed underneath the tape, you have to follow the right direction so you don't push the paint under the tape. Here I'm already using my black Darwin pencil to create a shadow underneath the mouth and the nose. In a painting you often exaggerate the scenery to make it look more interesting. The splashes of water I just add on intuition. I used Naples yellow to make the hair blonde. The raw umber underneath really gives the hair more definition. Whoa, hold on a second. To cheer you up, here's a wholesome montage of our trip together. Last day! So, to finish it off, I'm going to color on some accents to really pull it together. And that's it pretty much. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay home and stay healthy.